I'll be prosecuting Adnan and Jay being honest. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today we have Adnan being prosecuted for the murder of Hay. Today I'll be talking about the murder of Hay and everyone who was all involved, and their side of the stories on how it happened. Also evidence that also goes for this trial. As all of you guys know, there were many young teenagers who were telling their side of the story and what they thought have seemed to happen or seemed off about the people in this trial. The main characters you'll be hearing from most is Adnan, Jay, and the people who knew them and that connected them with the murder of Hay. The four other people you'll be hearing from is Sarah the reporter, who connected a lot of evidence together and talked to everyone individually. Laura, who was a friend. Aisha was Hay's best friend. Becky, who was a friend of Hay's. Yes, Ali, along with many other people. These people have been given enough information to help prosecute Adnan. All this will be hearing, you'll be hearing evidence by Laura, Sarah, Aisha, Becky, and a few more people talk and bring information about Adnan and Hay. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would like to present Sarah to the stand. Sarah is the journalist who has interviewed everyone individually and put a lot of evidence in the story together. Sarah talked to Adnan a lot about what happened that night. Sarah quoted from Adnan saying that he had no ill thought of her, he liked her, and had no motivation to kill her. She went on to show that Hay wrote notes or diaries about him saying that things like she wanted to talk to him and had faith in him. And now I'll be calling Aisha up to the stand. Aisha was Hay's friend. Aisha said that they shared everything to nudes and much more. Aisha was annoyed by Adnan because he would come over a bunch to see Hay. Becky, I would like now calling up to the stand. Becky saw the relationship as a silly teenage relationship with teasing, flirting, and would meet up after work and would have sex whenever, fight and break up, and fight and make up, and break up and get together. When all this happened, there were multiple letters from Hay that she wrote about Adnan. Adnan, who she was in love with, including how she felt, just like a diary. I'd like to call Sarah back up to the stand. Sarah heard many of her friends that Hay had a strong personality. Sarah did say that she had a diary of notes of Adnan and how she felt. This was what I will get into next. In the diary of the notes that Sarah read, Hay said he was a sweet guy and that Adnan danced with her and she fell completely in love with him. She didn't think of him as overbearing, but because of his religion, she has to be hidden away from Adnan's family because his religion doesn't let him have girlfriends. Hay's next choice was letting him go and have him go his own way and having him choose religion over her. She was in pain, but then was reunited with Adnan and she was full of love for him again. 3 days later, she had a crush on Don, who has blue eyes and brown hair, that they met at the mall. She was torn between the two, so she was writing in big letters Don and Adnan in her diary. Hay finally then split with Adnan by Christmas, and it was for sure over between them. By the end of the diary, Sarah talked to Adnan, and he had to say that he couldn't have girls or girlfriends. He had to do good school. He would get in trouble if his parents found out they were dating. It was twisting him up inside. He had to hide Hay from his family. Religion in his life, he would have chosen religion over Hay. Adnan also called Hay a sin because of his religion. Sarah said, from what many people heard from him, he was a certified EMT, so he knew how to kill and had a dark side. She also said that Hay would come to him still as a friend and would talk to him about people or jobs. As Sarah was talking to Adnan, she asked him how he felt about the breakup between those two. He said he was taking the breakup just fine. He wasn't upset. Sarah never got to talk to Jay, but Jay said the story was that after he broke up with Adnan, Adnan said he was going to kill her for breaking his heart, and he was devastated. Sarah went on to say herself that she didn't think he was an empty shell who disappointed his family or lied. He wasn't too full of rage to kill Hay, but she wasn't saying that he didn't kill her. Sarah did bring up another issue that had come up in question with Adnan. It was Adnan if he had taken Hay home. A few of the friends remembered that Adnan had give Hay a ride home, saying that something about it. I'm now calling Krista up to the stand. Krista's a classmate of Hay's and Adnan's. She knew where they were. Krista remembers Adnan asking Hay for a ride in the morning of January 12, 1999. But when she asked, he said he didn't ask for a ride. To provide more evidence for the story, I would like to bring up Becky. Becky knew where they were also. Becky said she remembers Adnan and Hay talking about a ride after school, and Hay told Adnan that she couldn't give him a ride anywhere because she had something to do. Becky also told police that she had seen Adnan at school around 2:45 p.m. Aisha will be now called up to the stand to talk. Aisha said that Adnan always annoyed her because she would constantly page Hay to see if she was out. I'll be calling Adnan to the stand, ladies and gentlemen of the juror. Adnan said that each time that he had ended the relationship or took a break, it was never a thing where I was quoted. It was never a thing where I was pestering her or like going to her home and knocking on the door. Jay is now called up to the stand, and he said that after Adnan said that, Adnan was going to tell Hay that his car had broken down and that he needed a ride. Calling Sarah back up to the stand, and who had talked and worked with the investigation. Sarah was saying before Hay's body was found, this was a missing persons case. She disappeared January 13th, and the investigation went out slowly, which made sense to her. She's not a small child. She's 18. She got a car which is also missing. She went on to say that the police had called around to her family and friends. They talked to Aisha and Adnan. Adnan told them that she was supposed to give him a ride, but didn't. They went on and investigated former current boyfriends of Hay's. The first day they called Don, who is Hay's new boyfriend. They checked his alibi and it checked out. But of course, for Adnan, his alibi came up inconclusive. Hay's body was found in Lincoln Park by a man who came across her body behind a log and decided to get out of his vehicle and go 125 yards back to go to the bathroom. A friend of Adnan's I would like to call up to the stand is Yasser Ali. A random caller had called police to say that Yasser Ali would know something, and then hangs up. Yasser said he didn't make the call and he didn't know anything. Yasser did say if Adnan wanted to get rid of a car, he would have dropped it off at Central Lake or Inner Harbor, somewhere that's in the woods. The police then opened Adnan's phone records for who all he called or received on the phone on January 13th, the day that Hay disappeared. After finding that will become the most important piece of paper in this case, they follow it like a mat that leads up to Adnan's front door. Adnan, Adnan will be called up to the stand now. Adnan, your call log on January 13th, there were 34 calls that day. One person had called 6 times that day, much more than anyone else. And it was 18-year-old girl named Jennifer, but she is not a friend of yours. She's a friend of Jay's. Jennifer come up to the stand, and Jennifer said that Jay had called her and said that Adnan killed Hay. He also brought up Adnan and said that Hay broke his heart but didn't say anything else. She then said that Jay said to her that Adnan had showed him her body and asked to help bury her. He then asked if he helped her bury her. Yes, Jennifer said yes. He then said that he didn't help bury the body, but he took Adnan to some place and dropped him off. Jay told her that he had strangled her in the Best Buy parking lot, but didn't know, but she didn't know how they got there. When he then went on to say that the body was in the trunk of the car. Sarah, calling now back up to the stand. Sarah, while you were listening to all these individual stories, you heard about Jay's story, where he saw Adnan at the phone booth at the edge of the building with wearing red gloves, and that Adnan had motioned Jay to follow him across the building to the other side where Jay saw his car parked. Jay come up to the stand. You knew where Hayes' car and saw it, correct? Jay said correct. Sarah come back up to the stand. When working with the other cops, whose fingerprints were found in Hayes' car, Sarah said Adnan's. Laura comes up to the stand. She's the neighbor, who said the boy neighbor took her to what he saw. Laura said that Laura, what did the neighbor boy show you? Laura said saw the dead body of a girl in the back of a vehicle. Name was Adnan, she said. He said that his friend Adnan showed him a body, and she's seen Adnan with Hayes' body. Sarah come back up to the stand. What is the Naisha call? Sarah said 3:30 in the afternoon. He put Jay on the phone with Naisha while she was on the phone. Jay invited him over to the video store. And 3:32 log call she gave to Jay. Jay didn't start working at the porn store yet at this time. She called. He asked how she was doing and had to come to the video store. Adnan was apparently at school. The number was speed dialed. Her phone doesn't have an answering machine and voicemail. That made everything crumble and fall apart for Adnan. Sarah come back up to the stand. Who is Justin Wolf? Sarah said that's similar to Adnan's case. He got his phone calls criminated against him, and that he was a suburban kid who played football also. He was a murderer of a drug deal who the drug dealer was shot 9 times. He was hired to kill the drug dealer and sentenced to death, but his attorney gave up his law license. Adnan heard about it. Stella Armstrong, juror, please come up to the stand. You said you believed Jay, Stella said, and you believed him. She thinks that the friend has walked away free after pleading guilty with no jail time. Jay seemed like he was streetwise. He was streetwise, got around to the neighborhood, um, kept himself, and seemed like a guy who, someone who would go if something went wrong. She thinks Adnan went to him. She also thought that there was nothing else that led him to believe that he was guilty. She was thinking he was fully innocent. She didn't buy that he was lying. Friends of Jay, Chris, Patrick, Laura come up to the stand. What is your guys' opinion on Jay? What they said was range of opinions, good or bad. He was one guy, the one who the ring BMX buckle, dyed his hair different colors, didn't know any black guys that were like that. He wasn't like any other people at school. He liked animals. He was good at lacrosse and didn't jock, more like a stoner. Wasn't a jock, more like a stoner. He lived in his grandparents, and his mom pretty much seemed like he was keeping to himself. Teacher said that he was mean, and others said that he was goofy or a stoner or wasn't the one to cross. Chris said he wasn't questioned, but it was true that Jay did tell him he was in a pool hall and got a call from Adnan telling him that he was shooting pool hall. Jay told Adnan he didn't want anything to do with it, but Adnan said that he was already an accessory and Jay couldn't go to the police because he had helped bury the body. Chris figured that Lincoln Park was Jay's idea. He heard all this go down at Woodland. He pushed him for more details and didn't say more. Explanation seemed pretty thin. Jay had a reputation of lying, but not something serious about that. Jay would tell stories or tales, but they would come true. Jen then said that she believed Jay, and still does, but still can't believe a lie. But didn't shake his trust what happened. But she thinks it didn't happen in the Best Buy because she would think that there would have been cameras. Laura come back to the stand. What did you end up telling Sarah? Laura said there wasn't any phones around Best Buy, no payphone or booths. The payphone question is important because Jay said that Adnan called from a phone. Come and get me, I'm at Best Buy. So they couldn't account for a phone, and Laura said it was because there weren't any phones around in that area or in the back. She would know because she used to go there all the time and used to shoplift CDs, so she was always aware of her surroundings. Summer, can you come up to the stand? She was a friend of Hayes, who was a helper with wrestling along with Hay. Summer, can you say what you think about Hay? Summer said it's impossible that Hay was dead by 2:36. She remembers talking to Hay, and they were getting ready for wrestling, and she said that she wasn't going to ride with her. She said she was going to meet Summer, and she had to pick up her cousin. She thought she was getting stood up by Hay. Hay told her that she was going to drive herself there. 2:36 wouldn't have been possible to meet him because she was with Summer at school. The new piece of evidence at 3:15 was the 3:15 call. Alicia Pittman was called along with Adnan from the former from what she remembers, is calling Adnan. Nothing came from Adnan. 6:09, Adnan seemed annoyed. Sarah comes back up to the stand. Why are the Mosaics so reluctant about this case? Sarah said because there's no one wants to end up in hot water and doesn't want to talk about, and if they don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. They think they let them down, and they're scared of what could happen to them. Also, what rumor was true about Adnan? Adnan's Sarah said that he was stealing money from the Mosaic, and when you were questioning him, how did he respond? Sarah said he was unhappy, wondering why he was getting skeletons pulled out of his closet, and that would make him look bad. He didn't think it was fair to him. He was sticking up for himself, and he was hurt and pissed. Do a lot of people from who he interviewed think that he snapped? Sarah said yes, they think he snapped. And that was the ending of this trial. Adnan is convicted of murdering Hay, and Jay was innocent.